Thank you so much, everyone. It's such a beautiful morning in the US, and it's a beautiful evening here too. A good morning and a good evening to everyone. We have panelists from University of Michigan, from University of Virginia, and we have industry experts and alumni with us. And thank you for all the students who have joined us today. We are looking at having an interactive and a fun session, knowing more about design and architecture and the graduate degrees and the information which each one of them can provide you. So welcome here today, and I thank everyone for taking the time. Moving on to the next slide. My name is Dhaval Mehta, and I am the CEO and founder of TNI Career Counseling. I am a University of Michigan graduate and Columbia graduate, and now I'm enrolled for a Cornell Executive Management program. But very happy to have everyone on board. Sonika, if you would want to go ahead, please.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing well. So I'll just give you a brief about what our company does. So we are a certified global admissions consultant and trust prep venture for undergraduates, masters, and MBA programs in India and abroad. We help students with career assessments and building their profiles, and we build a roadmap so with the activities they can do. We also help students get admissions in top universities and program across the world. We help them with visa, loans, travel, and we build a nice profile for the students so they are able to secure good jobs after they finish their programs. Rahul, could you move to the next slide? Yeah. So as this is our founder, Mr. Dhaval Mehta, CEO and founder. He has 17 years of experience as a career coach. He's a graduate from University of Michigan and Columbia University as well. He is also a Pearson certified career counselor, and he's currently doing an executive program from Cornell University. Rahul, could you move to the next slide? These are our mentors who are there with us, and we have a set of panelists that help us and help our students guide through the whole process. So these are the list of panelists, and I would like to invite Mr. Dhaval Mehta to explain in detail about the process that we follow and the requirements that are needed for the admissions. So I think Mr. Dhaval Mehta will take over from here, and he'll explain in detail about the entire process, how we select the application, how we do the entire admission process for the students.
Thank you, Sonika. Thank you very much. So the idea is not to go into a whole lot of detail. This is just the general requirement for admissions. I think we have the universities here to really give you a lot more detail in terms of the programs and also in terms of what their specific requirements for each programs are. And feel free that you can actually ask any questions towards the end of the session. So the flow of the session, which we will show in the latter slides, are going to be just the introduction right now, and then I'll hand over to Christopher from University of Michigan, who will introduce the team, and then post that we will hand over to, and Christopher will hand over to Cindy at UVA, and she would be introducing the team. And they will walk you through the programs that they have and talk about the requirements as well. And post that, we would have a 10 minutes sort of a discussion with industry experts within architecture and design. And we also have an alumni from UVA who would also participate in the same. And post that, we would have a 10 minutes FAQ session and then a conclusion. So this is the actual flow. If you all have any questions at any point in time, just as part of housekeeping rules, we would appreciate if you're able to put your questions, down. You would be on mute for all the time until the FAQ session. And if you have any specific questions, please put them in the chat. We will make sure we take them. And also, the admission officers have been made co-hosts. And if there's any particular question that a student's asking them, even while we are through the session, you're happy and you're welcome to answer them. So just moving through to our first guest, which is Christopher Tremblay. Welcome, Christopher. It's a pleasure having you here. Please take it on and introduce your team, including Gerry, Lisa, and Wendy.
Great. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. Again, I'm Christopher Tremblay, and I'm joined by Gerry Kreiner, who oversees our master's degree in architecture programs, Lisa Hauser, who will talk about our Master of Urban Design as well as the Master of Science degree, and then Wendy Rampson, who is here to talk about our Master of Urban Planning degree. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to give an overview of what we have to offer oddly at the University of Michigan. So we are Taubman College, home to architecture and urban planning. And in terms of why you would consider us, 4 primary reasons are interdisciplinary opportunities. So we do a lot of work related to climate change and mobility and equitable development throughout our programs. You'll hear about the dual degree options where you can earn 2 degrees by double counting a certain number of credits. We've got multiple graduate certificate programs. Beyond that, we are a top-ranked university, #1 U.S. public university, #9 among architecture programs in the U.S., and #3 among public universities based on a U.S. News and World Report ranking. We do have an expansive alumni network, which is one of our strengths. 500,000 U of M alumni and nearly 10,000 Taubman alumni around the world. And then we are located in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a top college town. You can see some of the stats there that make it an appealing place to live and learn. About Taubman College, we offer multiple degrees at the undergraduate and graduate and doctorate level. The 4 programs that we're going to be highlighting today are the 4 that are bolded on the screen. And just as a reminder, in terms of our rankings as well as our research agenda, lots of research going on within Taubman College as well as throughout the university. The dual degree programs that we offer, you can choose within urban and regional planning. We've got 4 options there. And then within the Master of Architecture, you can see those options to pair your interests based on what you're interested in studying and your ultimate kind of career goals. In terms of the University of Michigan, we have just under 48,000 students, including on average about 700 to 800 students from India at any given semester. Within Taubman, we have an enrollment just around 600 students. And typically we've got 25 to 35 students from India. Nearly 70 students from India have graduated from Taubman College in the last 5 years. And we do have some faculty and students who are doing work in India. You can see those examples on the screen in terms of studying, what they're studying, the exploration of their work. And so India is very much a partner in the work that we do to help students learn and grow in their skill set. Again, this is the contact information for the 4 of us, along with our general inquiry email address. We invite you to join our mailing list if you're interested in staying up to date on any of our academic programs. So now it's my pleasure to turn this over to Gerry, who's going to talk about the Master of Architecture program. Gerry?
Was I muted? Sorry. Happy to be here to talk about our Master of Architecture program here at Taubman College and the University of Michigan. where we do have the 2-year and the 3-year tracks for that program, and I'll talk about them in more detail over the next couple of slides. Some things that differentiate us from many other architecture schools is that we are a larger architecture program, so that enables us to have on average 35 electives per semester in the areas of architecture and urban planning at the graduate level. So that is quite a number of electives to be selecting from, but students can also take electives in other disciplines outside of Taubman College, ranging from business and real estate to information technology and the environment. So with all those choices, students can really go in a lot of different directions and explore their interests. If you combine that with the idea that we also have 12 unique studios offered per semester by diverse faculty with different backgrounds and expertise, there are quite a different ways that students can go to explore their interests and possibly have a focus or maybe not have a focus and have a very interdisciplinary experience while they're here. It's a big reason why a lot of students come here is because they're not sure exactly what they're wanting to focus on. So we really have a lot of options to go in a lot of different directions. We also have 80 faculty working here on various projects, with many of them paying students to work part-time for them while they're attending classes. We are the #1 public research university in the United States, and that enables a lot of opportunities for students to work with faculty very closely, whether that be working on their research or on their professional practice or assisting them in a book publication that they're working on. And sometimes at universities, it is commonplace to not be paid to be a research assistant, but our dean has various different programs and initiatives to make sure that the majority of our students that are working for faculty are being paid to do so. Here's the 3-year track laid out side by side. The 3-year students who do not have an undergraduate degree, specifically in architecture, would complete this first year of the program. Traditionally, we have a lot of applicants that have creative degrees such as art or landscape architecture. Very common to have an engineering related degree, but we also have students who have degrees in biomedical sciences and history and philosophy, and any undergraduate degree that you would have would qualify you to apply to the 3-year track. Those students join the 2-year track afterwards, where they all become one large cohort of students that enables us to have all those different studios and elective offerings that I was talking about. You see in the last 3 semesters that there are a lot of spaces for electives to fill with all those elective choices that I was referring to earlier. So it's kind of a double mentality. It wouldn't do a whole lot of good to have 35 electives if you didn't have any space to put them. So you see that there is a lot of space to put those electives in the last 3 semesters. And then Made at Michigan, Built for the World. We are well known for our digital fabrication lab, where we are very focused on harnessing that technology. Our digital fabrication lab and wood shops are one of the most advanced and robust in the world. Students have unprecedented access to advanced making resources and are encouraged to represent their ideas through physical form. Again, it's I'd say another double mentality where not only we have a lot of resources, but we have really an amazing program to make sure that students get hands-on experience using those resources. And then Christopher was already referring to our huge alumni corps, where our 2 full-time career service coordinators do keep in touch with them and reach out to them and stay connected. They are in 75 different countries around the world. And if you combine that with the 500,000 University of Michigan alumni that are around the world as well, it makes it almost to the point where no matter where you go to apply for a job, there is a University of Michigan or a Taubman College alum already working there. So that's a pretty powerful network to be dealing with when you are out in the job market looking for a job. Our 2 full-time career service coordinators help with the resumes and portfolios and interview techniques, have career fairs, and help you find an internship or a job shadowing opportunity. And are very, very good at what they do. And we have about a 98% employment rate after graduation. So, you know, there is a lot of opportunities to explore different career paths after graduation, or possibly even while you're going to school in the program. And that's it for my slides. Thank you for the opportunity, and please reach out if you have any questions.
And I think next up will be Lisa, who will give an update about our next two programs.
All right, I think I got everything unchecked and shared. I'm going to cover both of our post-professional degrees here at Taubman College today. Them being, the first one being the Masters of Urban Design. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, the Masters of Urban Design is a 3-semester, 45-credit-hour post-professional degree that engages in the research, conceptualization, and design of the processes of global urban transformation. Under the theme Detroit and the World, the MUD approaches the study of metropolitan regional as a breeding ground for the study of complex urban phenomena. Through comparative study and relational approaches, the degree addresses a diverse range of urban design thought and experimentation informing work in selected regional, national, and international settings. And then here's an example of our a sample schedule for the urban design program. As I mentioned earlier, it's 3 terms or 3 semesters beginning in the fall, winter, and fall. Each one of those terms covers our studio-based with a total of 3, 1 for every semester. These courses enable the integration of other areas of knowledge and offers a platform for research and experimentation. And again, the urban design, as Gerry had mentioned, has many direct electives as well throughout the course of study. Then here's some examples of some student work. As well as some examples of field work. And then MUD graduates join a wide range of jobs, including both public and private sector, academia, entrepreneurial efforts, and returning to school for PhDs. And as you can see, 100% of our recent graduates have been employed within a year. 100% of them are saying that they report their current position is directly related to their degree, and that they felt that the Taubman College degree made them were competitive in the workforce. Our second post-professional degree is the Master's of Science in Digital Materials Technology. The Master's of Science is a 10-month, 36-credit post-professional degree focusing on digital materials or digital technologies and material systems. We concentrate on the fundamental question of how architects make. By investigating new forms of architectural fabrication, designing and experimenting digitally and physically, intertwining material realities and computational advances, impacts on larger material and digital environments, aligning materials, instruments, and processes, correlating the possibilities of now, and the creating and evolving into the future. And here's some images of some of the work that has come out of the Masters of Science in Digital Material Technologies degree. Students working collaboratively. Hello?
I said, love the pictures, Lisa.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm a student again.
Well, it's never too late. You can join us for a doctorate program.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then,
Like being back in Michigan. It's been a while.
and then similar to the Masters of Urban Design, here's a sample schedule. The Masters of Science starts in the summer. That's one of the differences between that and the MUD. So that starts out with the practicum and pro seminar, and then falls into the fall with the theories and the engagement, what we call the engagement series, which is the robotic, virtual, and material systems, incorporating also the theories and electives like you're seeing in the other degrees that we offer. And then wrapping up with the capstone and additional electives. I would like to note that the MSD degree received the 2019 Innovative Academic Program Award of Excellence from the Association for Computer-Aided Design and Architecture. And we participate each year in the Acadia Conference. That is one of the pressing conversations in the territory of the field and gaining deep connections to researchers and scholars. And then as far as graduates, 92% have showed that they are employed, with 8% seeking positions, and 100% have positions related to the degree. And I think that is it. I'll turn it over to Wendy.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So you've heard, I know that many of you are here because you're interested in design and architecture. I want to say that urban and regional planning is a great fit for a graduate program for those who have been through an architecture undergrad. And if you think about it, you know, we focus on different things. But in our program, the central organizing piece is that spatial look at the community, at the neighborhood. It's that our architecture program focuses really more with a design lens. Urban design brings in some of the systems pieces, and then ultimately the urban and regional planning program focuses a lot more, I would say, on the systems evaluation of urban environments, rural environments. That could mean smart cities and technology, a focus on housing and real estate, and more of a systems approach rather than a design approach. Climate, a lot of land use focus in our program. And the one thing that Gerry had mentioned earlier, and Christopher as well, is the fact that we are at the University of Michigan, which allows for an interdisciplinary approach to your studies. So our students in urban and regional planning take advantage of coursework in the Ross School of Business, in our public policy program, in our School of Environment and Sustainability, particularly on climate adaptation approaches, our public health graduate program here at U of M. So these are things to keep in mind. You may be thinking from a design standpoint that you're going to continue in that route, but you may, I know I've read a lot of applications from architects from India who are interested and feel compelled to look at a more systems wider base for their studies. So one of the things that we really focus on at the University of Michigan is leadership. And so the other piece of our program that is very strong and woven throughout all of the coursework is the focus on community. So if you weave that together, that leadership and communities, we really are a group of people who are out there looking to promote the greater good. So within our program, I would say that there are two pillars. The first is an emphasis on social justice, and that is within the context of sustainability. So sustainability has three legs to the stool: environment, economy, and equity. So we focus on all of those within our program, with perhaps maybe a little bit more shading on that social justice and equity side. As I mentioned, we are a very multidisciplinary program. Our students are involved in working with communities hands-on throughout their program. And we also don't just focus on the issues of the US, we look globally. And so we have research that is engaged in food systems research globally, in climate adaptation, in green infrastructure. These are all pieces that our faculty are looking at on a domestic scale in the US and also globally. I'd also highlight that as the other programs, we are really focused on excellence. We are ranked number 9 of all of the graduate urban and regional planning programs in the United States. And in some of the rankings from Planetizen, the organization that does these rankings, one component is their ranking of faculty by peers. And in that, we are number 7. So there is high respect for our faculty among the academy. So in conclusion, I know that the focus here is really on architecture, but I'm really happy to answer your questions about our master's degree in urban and regional planning. And here at Michigan, we are made at Michigan and plan for the world.
Thanks, Wendy, Lisa, and Gerry. That's our overview about the University of Michigan graduate programs. And now it's my pleasure to transfer this over to Cindy and her colleagues from the University of Virginia.
Thank you. I was just going to say that maybe we could run a short poll for just 2 minutes so that we would kind of know where students are from and just kind of get them to engage a bit more. It would be great to have that. So starting now, if we can see there's a poll, Rahul, thank you for putting that up. If students can actually select an option from there, that would be very useful for our, our panelists that are here to understand where you're from. That would actually help us understand a little bit more. Yes, the poll has started now. Thank you, students. I'd urge you to start taking, and we're going to keep the poll open for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, depending on how much time you all are taking to actually take that poll. I see, okay. That's right. Thank you. Yeah, keep them coming. We're at 37, okay. We're just getting there. Okay, we're just warming up. All right, you just have to hit the button. All right, can we move on? Next one. Okay, so this, okay, are we moving to the next question? I thought we already got that question right. Okay, I think this time we have only 11. Maybe we don't want to end the poll. We just want to move to the next question. Rahul, do you want to move to the next question? Okay, yeah, so we've got which year are you in? And we're seeing a lot of them putting the answers there. Great. We're closing on. Did we start the poll again?
Well, the poll is still running. We can all still see it, and we can see all of the questions and all of the responses.
Okay, great. So are these the responses that are shared, or is this the poll still open?
Both. We can see that 74 of 83 have voted, almost a 90% voting rate. Okay,
because I for some reason I'm seeing 18 out of 84, and so I was just wondering if we're actually done with the poll so that we can actually flash the results. So Rahul, are we done with the poll? Can we flash the results? All right. So I think that we're looking at a large percentage from Mumbai, and then we've seen a percentage of them from second year and fifth year, which is great. And we're looking at how are we feeling today and the Okay, that's good. We're seeing 3s, 4s, and 5s. I feel there is probably it's because it's a Friday evening and you want to go out and party. So I would say that's probably what it is. And what do you expect to get out of this webinar? Get to know more about the various master's programs, admission requirements, scholarships, and career opportunities. And finally, a fun hand on the heart. Are you wearing pajamas? And everyone's saying yes to that. Okay, great. So moving on. Thank you. And over to you, Cindy.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. Welcome from beautiful Charlottesville, Virginia. We're glad to be here with you today. With me, I have Professor Jeana Ripple from the Department of Architecture and Professor Andrew Mondschein from the Department of Urban and Environmental Planning. I'd also like to briefly point out that we do have 2 other master's degree programs not represented here today, but we can certainly share more information if you're interested. We offer a Master of Landscape Architecture and a Master of Architectural History, and we do offer dual degrees in all of our programs. And beginning in the fall, we will also offer a Master of Urban Design, so we're very excited about that. The UVA, while nestled in the foothills of the Shenandoah Valley, is really a bustling area where it's a global community. We have over 150 countries represented in the UVA student body. So it is an area where you can come and feel welcome. I really want to have most of the time today talking about UVA spent with Professor Jeana Ripple and Professor Andrew Mondschein. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to them to talk about our programs and to talk about the School of Architecture in a little more detail with you. So Jeana, can I turn this over to you?
Thank you, Cindy. And let me see if I can get this. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see that? Is there any blocked out portions?
Looks good, Jeana.
Okay. Well, it's really nice to talk to all of you today. Thank you so much for the invitation. And Andrew and I will also try to leave some time to answer your specific questions. So I think as has already been mentioned, please feel free to start to add those into the chat. I'm going to start off by just giving a kind of an overview of the school in general. As Cindy mentioned, we have 4 disciplines in the school, 2 of which are represented here today, but we work closely across disciplines with colleagues from architecture, landscape architecture, urban and environmental planning, and architectural history. So I'm going to talk about just the type of environment that we foster here at the school, which is one where we try to empower students to explore your own creativity. And we think it's critical that this is a discipline and an environment that exchanges ideas from a variety of perspectives, both disciplinary and culturally. And so students come into the program from a lot of backgrounds, and similar to our colleagues at Michigan, we have students who come in with other creative degrees or non-creative degrees. We have students coming from engineering and mathematics and philosophy, and they would enter into, in most of our programs, in a slightly longer track, with students coming from a architecture or a degree that they're continuing in advanced placement tracks. Typically, we have conversations that involve many of our disciplines, discussing the work that students are working on. For example, in this image, there are faculty from landscape architecture, urban and environmental planning, and one of our alums talking to a student about her project that she's working on. Students are invited, and we work with them to take on the most pressing issues globally. And we try to empower them with all of the skills and perspectives that they need to do so, working closely with faculty from across disciplines and working with a variety of mediums. So we We want our students to be familiar enough with all the tools that they need to do their work in order to really choose those that are right for them, to explore the work that they need to do in any particular moment. So they work from physical modeling to digital fabrication to data analysis, to working with video medium. We also enjoy a culture at the university overall that fosters the interrogation of legacy, and the expansion of dominant narratives of history and questioning of public space. So this is an image of the central lawn on UVA's campus, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was designed by Thomas Jefferson at the time of the founding of the university. One of these pavilions at the top of the image is the home of the current dean of the architecture school and the site of a lot of events within the school, but also within the university. But this gives us a critical opportunity because this was also a campus, the central part of campus that was built by enslaved laborers. And it gives us an obligation and an opportunity as a university to expand this, what is often in a dominant narrative, seen as a celebrated space, expand the story toward recognizing this history of enslaved labor on campus. For example, this is a image of the recently opened memorial to enslaved laborers designed by a team that included one of our esteemed alumna, Mabel Wilson, and that was designed in collaboration with the Charlottesville community and descendants of enslaved laborers. And we see centering of anti-racism and cultural inclusivity as central topics to examine, along with our disciplinary role in shaping and questioning truly public space. Our students, for example, these are some images by Lauren Brown, Omar Garashi, and Tristan Reck. Our students also are working with faculty to explore different ways as designers to expand the stories that we tell and the way that, in particular, the way that we recognize histories. So these are some counter monuments that were designed with Professor Elgin Cleckley. Students are given opportunities to operate on a global scale. In particular, one of our alum and current members of the faculty, Pankaj Virgupta, has been working with students over a multi-year research project that started with a focus on the Yamuna River and eventually evolved into a collaboration between the entire University of Virginia and the local government to explore ways to rethink the use of the river and the preservation of the river as an ecological resource. This is one of our research studios, which is kind of central to this interdisciplinary approach, where students this is the moment in the curriculum toward the end of your graduate studies, where students from architecture, landscape architecture, and urban design have a chance to take studios together. And you might work with more than one faculty from across those disciplines. For example, in this studio, students are working with faculty that include environmental sciences, faculty who are in India, as well as local faculty at UVA, and in a non-COVID environment, having the opportunity to travel. The studio is one of several from UVA that recently won the Studio Prize by Architecture Magazine. These are some images of some of the travel. This is, for example, a China summer program that's led by Xichao Li and Esther Lorenz, prominent scholars on global architecture and the Chinese city. Or the Ghana studio led by landscape architect and urban planning professors Nancy Takahashi and Guoping Hong. And what these studios share in common, and the idea we want to get across, is that a commitment to understanding the interrelationships between people, culture, place, the environment, and the ecological stressors that are facing our planet and are central to our challenge as designers going forward, and the way that we need to, what we think is central to empowering all of you as leaders who are going to be we're relying upon and confident can help us address these challenges in the future. This is another image from one of those research studios that is focused on the changing, the resource extraction and changing political landscape in the Arctic, led by architecture professor Matthew Joel and landscape architecture professor Lena Cho. They're part of a multi-university Arctic design group funded by the NSF, and students have this kind of opportunity to work with faculty on multi-year research projects through their design studios. A few core highlights we value the support of students and the fostering of a diverse learning environment for students, both in terms of disciplinary perspectives and also in terms of the perspectives, the lived experiences that our students bring to the table. So for example, we have a diversity-focused scholarship named after two of our first Black alumni, Edward Wayne Barnett and Audrey Spencer Horsley. And this allows us to provide one of the opportunities to enable students from different backgrounds to come to the university. And the way that this takes place is we invite students during their application process to tell us how your own work, how your own expertise and knowledge will help promote a diverse learning environment at UVA. So everyone who applies to our programs has the opportunity to tell us about this, and this is one of the ways that we try to foster a kind of global set of perspectives at the school. Another important element of supporting our students is connecting them with a very broad alumni network. Our alumni are committed to our students. They're all over the world working in all sorts of industries and disciplines, and they're often invited back. We try to create opportunities both for alumni to come back and meet our students and also for our students to go out and meet our alumni. For example, our core studio sequence, our foundational studio sequence in the Master of Architecture program includes the study of several different American cities, starting with Chicago, then New York, then Los Angeles, and involves subsidized travel. So it gives the students a chance to visit alumni offices and connect with some mentors through a career services mentoring program. Our faculty are working in all different medium and methodologies of design research that range from publishing. Here are some of the recent published works by faculty, to exhibition, to involvement in practice. This is globally. Most of our faculty are located in Charlottesville with offices adjacent to the studios and easily accessible by our students, but also operate in practice on a global scale. This is a recently completed project by Professors Luis Pancorbo and Inés Martin Robles in Spain. So many faculty have partnerships with other practitioners in major metropolitan areas that kind of enable what we think is a great opportunity for our students to have both this accessible resource of local faculty, but also connections to a global perspective on practice. We bring in visiting distinguished alumni and friends and colleagues from around the world as visiting professors. For example, this is Garnett Cadogan, our Porter Chair this year, and Thomas Jefferson Professor and distinguished alumna Mabel Wilson, who I mentioned earlier, is also teaching an architectural history course available to all of our master's students this spring. And then finally, public programs. And one of the things that's been interesting about operating in this COVID area is that we've really been able to expand the types of public programs that we offer and the audience for our public programs. So much of our lecture series has been open to our entire alumni community, kind of allowing for even greater engagement and in a kind of cohesive environment, even in the midst of some of this isolation that we're all feeling. So these are just some of the events that have taken place in the last year. And some of this programming is also something that we offer through our admissions team. So I'm sure Cindy will give you or post some information about this, but one of the ways in which we begin to invite prospective students in is through some of our online programming that happens throughout the year. For example, the chair of architecture and I, Felipe Correa, and I recently hosted a portfolio information session for our prospective students. Sometimes we offer glimpses into classes, invite prospective students to come and talk to our faculty about what they're teaching in their electives. So please sign up on our website and to receive some information about that, and we can show you and have some more detailed discussions. And now Andrew and I will just say a couple of words about each of our sort of the distinct programs. The Master of Architecture, as I mentioned, is a 3-year curriculum with the opportunity for advanced placement up to a 2-year path. The curriculum is really focused on a progression of foundational studios and then into more research studios, which are option or elective topically for students toward the end. And those are supported, the curriculum is supported by critical topics such as theory, history, building technology, environmental systems, and these are all integrated closely within the design experience for our students. We have several certificates and dual degree programs that allow students to double count some of the classes and enable them to graduate with more than one focus. And I think Andrew's going to talk a little bit more about that. But I think one of the central features for our students is working in a relatively close-knit environment that celebrates expertise from across our disciplines and enables students to get involved in research projects that are at their core multidisciplinary and collaborative. And now I'll turn it over to Andrew.
Thank you very much, Jeana, and thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. And yeah, Jeana really introduced the fact that, at the University of Virginia in the School of Architecture, we are a very collaborative place, and we're all together, and we often think about what we do as an integrated set of disciplines that are going to work together both in the school and, of course, in the wider world. And that's part of our philosophy, is kind of reflecting the reality of how our disciplines actually function in the private and public sectors. I think for the Master of Urban and Environmental Planning, I think the most important thing to say about it to start off is just we are an urban and environmental planning masters, which is different than most other planning degrees in the United States. Our focus on the environment really is core to every class that we offer, but also in terms of our faculty and specializations. We have really world leaders in terms of thinking about what the environment means in an urban context, like Tim Beatley focusing on biophilic cities, which is a program he leads here, as well as other critical issues, climate change and well-being. But also we have at the University of Virginia, the Center for Design and Health, and one of our faculty members, Jenny Rowe, leads that, where we really think about environment not just as a set of kind of stressors, but also what are the impacts on our health and well-being. And so this broad focus on environment and well-being and sustainability that really touches not just on one type of environmental thinking or environmental planning, but a broad base is something we really pride ourselves on, and is an opportunity to think about it and really gain skills for dealing with these issues in a really nuanced and complex way. One of the other things that I think we are really focused on is expanding the idea of what planning is by thinking about a synthesis of both the physical planning and design with collaborative engagement and methods of fundamentally thinking about how we plan for diverse communities, and the collaborative methods, engagement methods, and other sorts of analytic skills that we need to be able to do that. And so in the Master of Urban and Environmental Planning, you certainly can look at our website. So the whole, the whole degree sequence is there, and I think please check that out. But simply enough to say is that we have a core of skills that we train you in: planning ideas, theory, qualitative and quantitative methods, GIS skills, urban design opportunities, and then with a specialization opportunity. Most of the degree actually more than half of it is electives or specialization, where you're able to actually think about, all right, what do I want to do with this? And so we assign you a faculty mentor who you get to choose based on your fundamental interests. Or if you don't know, we'll help you think about it. And do you want to be a transportation planner, a land use planner, an urban designer? And towards that end, we really help you think through what those specializations might be with a really a choice-based approach to that. What I'll wrap up with for our entire talk is to broaden out again, is to say, whether you're doing an urban and environmental planning master's or an architecture master's or landscape architecture, architectural history, we offer opportunities for certificates that again could be your specialization in planning, but also part of what you do in a different degree as well, in urban design, of course, but also in historic preservation and in real estate, which has been incredibly popular, thinking about how we actually build the things we need to build with the skills that we've developed here in school. How do we get this done? So we have our certificate programs, and in addition, Jeana and Cindy mentioned, we have dual degrees within the school. You can come and do an architecture and urban and environmental planning, or landscape architecture and architecture, or landscape architecture and urban environmental planning. And in addition to that, we do have dual degree programs with planning, also with public policy and law here at the University of Virginia, both fantastic programs, as well as of next year, we'll have a dual degree with the public health here at the School of Medicine. So we have a lot of opportunities to hybridize what you're doing. And I think that we know that the way the world works, that's an important aspect of a professional portfolio, is all of the different sorts of ways that our skills integrate across disciplines. And that's where I'll stop.
Great, thank you so much. That was great, Cindy, Andrew, and Jeana. I think that was very helpful. That was an incredibly great understanding of not just the degrees, but also of the environment that students actually get while they're at UVA. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you to Christopher and the team at University of Michigan. There are just a couple of things I just wanted to kind of run past by in terms of admission requirements, and these are just very basic, but if any of you have any particular requirements that you might want to mention while we're here, please feel free to do so. What I understand is for the general requirements for admissions is you need a statement of purpose that would generally want to talk about your work or your area of study at the undergraduate level, how your program can help you achieve your academic and professional goals, what your academic and professional experience might be, and what kind of work activities you would like to engage to reach your long-term career goals. Also a resume that would actually include any internships, professional experience, or highlight your academic performance, honors and awards, and extracurriculars would be required and is helpful. A portfolio is what they would have to submit in addition, and transcripts of their four-year bachelor academic, sort of highlighting their academic performance. Now, I understand that the transcripts are sort of official transcripts that should reach you all, but I think when they're actually uploading them, they could be just transcripts that they have access to. I know some universities have more stringent requirements with that. Maybe if you would like to mention that. Also, between 2 to 3 letters of recommendation from a TSA supervisor, a faculty, or immediate manager if you're actually working. Also, a TOEFL or an IELTS score is required, and then of course the visa that comes at the end. But this is sort of the general graduate requirements for admissions. I would just ask either Christopher and Cindy to maybe just highlight if there's anything that we're missing in here, or if there's anything in particular to their programs.
Cindy, I'll let you go first, and I'm going to turn it over to Gerry.
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you. So at UVA, we do have a holistic admission process, and I think Christopher and his team would probably say the same at the University of Michigan. And so what you're seeing represented here is very familiar to what we ask in the admission process. And what we're really looking for is you as an individual. And so as we look through your application materials, we really want to see multiple lenses. We want to see who you are and how you'll contribute to the School of Architecture in all of the various ways, and in the programs that you're applying to, and in the university and in the community. And we're also interested in knowing, as much as you would know at the point that you're applying, how these degree programs are going to help you meet your career goals. And we would expect that in your time with us at UVA, that would expand, and it may even change, and that's great. We're really looking for students who are curious and who are eager to learn. And I'm sure Jeana, when she talks, can tell you about her experience as a student at the University of Virginia. But this really does align with the types of things that we're asking for. And there is not one characteristic that has more weight than others. We really want to get to know each of you individually through the admission process. And we do our best to try to help you throughout that process. We offer admission information sessions, as Jeana mentioned before. You have the opportunity to engage with our chairs and graduate program directors to learn more about the programs in detail. And we do offer that for each of our different disciplines. We also offer financial aid sessions for people who want to learn more about scholarships and ways to earn funds through the University of Virginia. And we allow you the opportunity, and we connect you with current students, because we feel it's really important that you hear from the student's perspective about what it's like to be a student at UVA. So we do try to provide you with a really well-rounded experience so that you can make the decision that's right for you. We're not going to try to sell you on UVA. We really want you to learn about us, and we hope that we are the right fit for you. And we do try to provide as many opportunities for you to engage with us so that you can make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Gerry? Yeah, Gerry?
The fact that, what you're kind of saying here is, and if I hear that correctly, is, having a holistic background is very important. And it's important that applicants, and I think when I was talking to you the last time, that diversity is so important in programs like this, to bring different perspectives. And, it's great to have someone who's just graduated versus someone who has some professional experience. How would you view that?
Are you referring to in the admission process?
Yes, in the admission process.
We have students who will come straight from their undergraduate programs and dive right into a graduate program. For some, that's the right choice. They are excited, they still have that energy and want to dive right into a graduate program. And for other students, they want to get out into the world, get a few years of experience and come back. We value both, because each of those brings a different experience and lens to our environment. And we're also really looking for, as you mentioned before, diversity in all of its various ways, shapes, and forms. And so experiences, cultures, backgrounds, all of those things really enhances our learning environment, whether it's in the studio or whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in research, whether it's out in the field. We just really value so many different experiences, backgrounds. And so that's really what we're looking for, is what each individual and how they will uniquely contribute to the learning environment at UVA.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Did you want Gerry to talk, or did you, or Andrew to talk, or should we have this back at Christopher?
I think Gerry's going to jump in with a few follow-up comments.
Okay, sure.
Sure. So all of our applications are a holistic review process, including the urban planning program. The urban planning program does not have a portfolio requirement, so that is different than the rest of our programs. Master of Urban Design, Master of Science are programs that do have a pretty specific focus, so portfolios should also have a similar focus and show that interest and experience. For the Master of Architecture program, I always like to highlight and clarify that even though it is a architecture program that you're applying to, it doesn't need to be architecture specific cover to cover. And certainly for our 3-year applicants, it doesn't necessarily need to have any architecture in it at all. And it can be a creative portfolio that focuses on anything that you might make or create, design, paint, draw. It doesn't need to be academic specific experience, independent projects, design competitions are very often very appreciated. And even for the 2-year applicants that do have undergraduate degrees in architecture specifically, I would encourage them to think about what else they have that is impressive work that they might include in a portfolio, and helps to differentiate them from other applicants, and as Cindy was saying, highlights what is unique about them. And you can highlight what's unique about you through your personal statement and your resume, of course, but you can also do that through your portfolio and show, something very unique that shows a creative side of you that may not be necessarily architecture specific.
Great, this is very helpful. Thank you so much. And then if I can move ahead to the next slide, this is what I see as a very big slide, which I want to kind of make an impact to students of, what are the benefits really of studying in the US? And I think many of them who are, of course, attending know those benefits, but I feel like, kind of resounding this. So most of the degrees now, as I understand, and maybe Christopher and Cindy, you can also specify or clarify this, is that, STEM programs is what a lot of students, international students, look for. They desire that so that they can actually extend their stay for work reasons for another 24 months. So as I understand that, at Michigan, all their programs are STEM designated programs. Cindy, if you might want to, add to it from your side as well at UVA.
Certainly. Our Master of Architecture and our Master of Landscape Architecture degrees are both STEM designated degree programs. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I think the culture diversity that, I have personally found at the schools in the US are just, incredible. And I feel that the abundance of opportunities while you're on campus, if you want to work on something, I did that when I was actually studying. You definitely get an opportunity to work somewhere, though I think that different programs require different amounts of I would say different amounts of effort, and so you might or might not want to take an on-campus job, or there's always internships that you can take in summer. So the U.S. by itself, it's incredible the opportunities that it's provided me and in general to students even now. And I think increasingly going forward, I think that's the promise that is going to be met. And yeah, of course, I want to congratulate everyone there with having a new president and a vice president who talks about diversity. And I feel that that's probably going to be recognized more at the schools going forward as well. Moving on to the next slide, I think this is just a test case that we've sort of mentioned. I think we're going to send that over to students as well so that they can actually refer to it. But what I would like to do now is probably introduce our panel so that we don't fall short of time, and introduce our panel of industry experts. And So we have Robin Chabra, who is the founder and CEO of Dextrous, which is a co-sharing workspace. He's completed his bachelor's and master's in architecture from University of Michigan. So he's going to give you a good perspective of what it was like when you were actually at University of Michigan as an undergraduate student and then a master's student. And then how did he actually plan his sort of career and then come back to India and then, open the co-sharing workspaces. So looking forward to hear from Robin. We also have Advait Sambare, who's the director at GDS. He is a master's in design from Harvard Graduate School of Design, but he has a master's in urban planning from University of Michigan, and he has a bachelor's in architecture from JJ College of Architecture in Mumbai. And we also have Veena Shah here. And Veena is currently a master's of architecture student at University of Virginia. And she was awarded a distinction in the final stage of her 5-year-long degree at the bachelor's level. So welcoming all three of y'all. I hope you have your cameras on and would love to probably post the first question to Robin. So we just have 3 or 4 questions, and maybe we can the idea is to share your experience and your journey, as an undergraduate to a master's student, Robin.
Sure. Hi, David. Thanks for having me. It's nice to see everybody. It's nice to see Michigan and also the new building. I've not seen that in a long time. I think for me, the journey was interesting because I came into Michigan thinking about mastering in math or economics, and then it would sort of found myself not being able to wake up for classes. But when I took architecture classes, I was waking up for them. And there was a great opportunity there where the 2-year program for the Bachelor of Science gave me a great sort of outlet to try and see if it was a degree that could be interesting to explore. And I was able to sort of slowly get into it. And it gave me the space and time to be able to think that, okay, maybe I want to do this full time. And then I think the bachelor's experience was great. It's as any architecture program, it's always very challenging. And the entire studio environment was something that was extremely unique, where some pretty impressive bonds get forged. And I think I was keen personally for me to go back into the workspace and see if I wanted to try some architectural practices. So I worked in Singapore for a few years, and I wanted to come back to do a master's degree with a little bit more maturity. So I took 3 years to do that, and then came back and did a 2-year master's degree. And I think that was that helped because it gave me a lot of focus and to think about what I wanted to get out of the master's degree. So that was my path. And I think there are a lot of my friends who went straight into the master's degree, as some of the earlier people were talking about. And I think it really depends on what works for you and when you feel you're ready. And I think the sort of most important perspective from all the sort of 6 years of education was really realizing the potential that an architecture degree can give you, not just sort of to think that you're going to be an architect for the rest of your life, but also gives you a great opportunity to think about doing other things as well. And entrepreneurship is a huge door where you can take design thinking to business and do a lot of things there. I think the time is ripe. We need new solutions. We need new thinkers. We're in, whether it's with sustainability, whether it's with getting out of the world and go explore new space, new planets. I mean, the opportunities are massive, and I think we have to think quite hard and long. So you need a degree that lets you really push your boundaries, I would say. And I think architecture really helped me do that. That's pretty much which has led me to now start my own company and run these series of co-working spaces. And I think I owe a lot to where I am now, to where because of where Michigan took me at the time. And I think one of the small points I could say is that perhaps having more career counseling in the prior years could have perhaps helped me focus even faster and maybe save even more time. But I think, which is a very useful thing, I think exploring different architecture schools, different programs. I remember even back in the day in the early 2000s when I was doing my undergraduate degree, the UVA program was fantastic, and the landscape program had a huge calling and had some amazing people coming out of there, and the work that was done. You can see that in the slides as well. So it's been, I think it's a great opportunity to do an architecture degree, whether it's a master's or an undergrad or any focus, because it really, really expands your horizons in many, many ways.
Wow, that's really thank you so much, Robin. I think that's amazing that you've been able to cover so much about about your experience. And I still remember the football game that we first watched at Dexter's at your Bandra Kurla complex. So I've seen it ground up, right? As alumni, and now as the president, it's amazing, and how incredible your journey has been, Robin. Really, congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And let me bring Advait in this discussion. Advait, you've had such a unique journey as well. What I understand is you even teach now, at JJ School, for instance, and you're still doing work and teaching. There's just so much that you've been able to even give back. Would love to hear more about your journey as well.
Hi, yeah. So it's very exciting. I think architecture allows you to have numerous roles all at the same time, and I think a lot of architects enjoy the academic side of things as much as they do enjoy the professional side of things. So not right now, but I was teaching till very recently at my alma mater, which is JJ College of Architecture, in the Thesis 2 studio there, where I taught for the previous 6 years. Well, my journey in a nutshell is that I did my undergrad year in Mumbai at JJ School of Architecture, and I was quite uncertain as to the kind of path I might take. Do I want to be, an urban designer or a landscape architect, or perhaps go into real estate? I wasn't quite sure. So I decided to work for 2 years to really understand the industry and get a sense of where I might like to be. And midway through those 2 years, I realized that my interest was in large-scale urban development and design. So I chose urban design as the field of my master's. And UFM was just a perfect fit because it was a very grounded program. It encourages you to be imaginative and experimental, and yet be grounded in the real world. And we had some fantastic studio experiences. We had real sites and almost always a real client as well. So it was an extremely interesting experience to see things from a very different lens. And at UFM, the MUD class was a very close-knit class of about 15 students, very international. So we had about, I think, 6 of them who were Americans, and then the other 9 who were from all over the place. So we had 2 Indians, 2 Chinese, 2 from Korea, 1 from Ghana, 2 from Taiwan, etc. So very, very diverse group of students. And the highlight was the travel that we did throughout the year. So we had studios in Chicago, in New York, in Cincinnati, and the real highlight was the 2 weeks we spent in Istanbul, which was the beginning of a 3-year-long engagement that UFM had with the Istanbul Housing Ministry, where we were developing ideas for setting up a twin city for Istanbul. So that was a huge learning experience, where all 15 of us were designing one project on one site, and we had presentations to the government authorities there as well. So that was an extremely interesting experience. And I actually graduated right at the time when the financial crisis was playing out, 2008. So it was a horrid time to go out of school, and there were practically no jobs around. I mean, of course, in my case, I also had the opportunity to come back to India to be part of the very established firm that I worked with earlier. And it was an extremely exciting time at that time in India, where there was just so much happening, and we were at the cusp of huge change. So I had the opportunity to come back here and set up the urban design team, and it's been an extremely interesting experience for me, where I've had the opportunity to work on a large healthcare campus over 68 acres in Delhi, a large transit-oriented development for Indian Rail over about 240 acres of land, along with the redevelopment of an existing station, and numerous other mixed-use townships, residential developments, office developments, etc. And of course, along with that, because I always had this interest in being part of academia as well, I had the opportunity to teach at JJ College of Architecture.
Wow, wow, this is a very diverse and a very well-rounded, I would say, portfolio of things that you've done. And I thank you so much for sharing everything. Are there any memories of any particular faculty that you want to share?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think all of us were blessed with the absolutely excellent teachers we had. Kit McCullough to start with, who was, I think, still there at Taubman College. She was an excellent instructor in bringing us into a culture of research, which I really enjoyed. We had absolute legends like Bob Fishman, who was a very, very established historian, as well as Doug Kelbaugh, who was the dean at UFM for many years. And luckily for us, had just stepped down as dean to focus back on the academic side of things. So we had him as well. We also had Roy Strickland, who was the director of the MUD program at the time, and was just an amazing resource for all things urban design. He taught the New York studio, which was absolutely unforgettable. He was also instrumental in bringing that really grounded approach to urban design learning, and so he had this amazing relationship, with a few of these institutional clients who brought real studio opportunities to UFM. So we engaged with real sites and real clients, in an academic environment where we were encouraged to be experimental and innovative. But at the end of the day, we always had to answer, how will this actually get done?
Thank you so much, Advait. I know we are stepping over our time, maybe a couple of more minutes. I'd like to invite Veena to talk and share about her experience at UVA. I'm sure after hearing from her other colleagues here, she's probably got an idea now of what she's going to say about her journey. And I'm excited to hear that, Veena.
Yeah. So I came to the United States in the fall of 2019. So it just feels like yesterday that I was in same position as you all, just looking at multiple universities, shortlisting them, and deciding where I want to be. And in terms of that, the SOP really helped me, decide where I would want to be, because it helped me just understand like what are my priorities and do they align with the university I'm applying at. So even from the process of admission, it has been very clear that UVA is the choice that I wanted to be with, and it hasn't failed with my expectations. The research-based education that UVA promotes has been incredible in just giving me a robust idea in how I perceive design. And I felt like in the bachelor's, we look at more broader scale, like we are doing structures, we are doing building technology, and we are learning a lot of things, which is helpful in laying out the foundation, but we never really get to explore different ways to design or even think about designing. And the master's degree has allowed me this opportunity to explore what I perceive of design, how I want to design, and what is my role as an architect. So I think that has been incredible. And so I think in that sense, UVA has helped me just, identify myself and has allowed me with opportunities to connect with other departments in the school as well. With my assistantships, I've been able to learn more about design thinking, and urban planning. Like Andrew mentioned, I've been working with Tim Beatley on biophilic cities, and faculty like those who are so enthusiastic about the work that they do, and just there's so many great minds to be around, and every moment you are just in awe that you are actually working with them and getting the opportunity to learn from them, which has been incredible. And as Jeana mentioned, we also have the core studios in New York and Los Angeles, and I'm happy that I got to visit those cities before pandemic hit. And even within the duration of first year in the United States and with the architecture degree, I'm just happy that I got to travel around United States and got to visit these cities and know more about the culture over there and just broaden the understanding and culture of the places.
These
And
all sound very incredible. I'm so proud of you, Veena. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun there.
definitely, I'm actually sad it's my last semester and I'm just like, did I miss something? Did I do enough?
That's great. Wonderful. This is so lovely. And thank you so much, Veena, for joining us. If there's anything else that anyone would like to ask in terms of questions, I know that, there were questions that were lined up earlier, where I think one of the top questions that I had, that's how I actually tried to cover these out in terms of, the admission requirements and, about faculty and what differentiates a program. And so I kind of already asked a whole bunch of these questions earlier. And the others who are, who still have any other questions can always get back to us. Send us an email. There's a survey over here, but you can send us an email to connect@teacherni.com. And I think that is what's going to help. And any other questions that you have, of course, we are here to help you out. Think a little bit more clearly. And then from there, sort of help you with the the process moving forward. So I would just quickly, sorry, I punched in the wrong copy paste of an alumni that I've been talking to earlier. His name is Rajiv Ved. So apologize for that, but that's our email ID. And of course, for both the teams at University of Virginia and at Michigan, I think we've put our the email IDs as well. If you want to reach out to them. I want to thank every single one of you to come in and talk about and how you've talked about the programs. You've shared so much information. Thank you, Cindy and your team. Thank you, Christopher and your team. To take time out, walk students through very so early in the morning. It's a Friday for everyone. So thanks, students. I understand. It's late evening. You probably want to, you're already probably making a lot of plans on your WhatsApp now with your friends. But I hope you've enjoyed this session as much as I have hosting it. And thank you, Robin. Thank you, Advait, and thank you, Veena, for joining us today. Good evening to everyone. And we look forward to connecting again and keeping this dialogue going. Thank you.